I'm Rick Harsch. I teach a master class in fiction writing, and I don't like to do night videos. I don't think people trust what they can't see. Maybe if I take my glasses, well, now I can't see if you can see. Okay, I'm going to take my glasses off. I guess this is one of those things I've been wondering. Is this the right thing for my audience? And well, I'm guessing that it really doesn't matter. It's an important message. It's a health message. No, it's not about the COVID 19. If you're in the United States, get out. We all know that. But um, this is a writer thing for some reason. I have not the data to back any of this up. This is all anecdotal. This is what I'm getting from writers that I know. I know a lot of writers. You know, a good let's just say 200 writers that I know. And starting last summer, I started getting personal notes from really good friends. And the first time I got this note from a friend, I pretended to be sympathetic, and then I laughed a lot. A good friend of mine, who's a very successful writer in the United States, wrote me and said that he had a sponge growing from his scrotum, not like a kitchen sponge, but a regular sea sponge. And and then a friend of both of us wrote me, and maybe just me. I don't know if he wrote him, but he wrote me that he had a sponge growing out of his scrotum. And I thought, that's really weird. I mean, they don't even live in the same town, and I didn't know what do you do. I mean, you just see a doctor. I mean, he's seeing a doctor, right? And but it's a tough thing to pursue. Like what do you write? To either one of them. Person A. So you ever get that sponge? Do you use it? Do they remove it? Can they remove it? And then the third person, and this one, I don't want to say his name, but he's a poet in California, and he's he's a really talented guy, and I love him, and he told me that he went to a doctor and found that the reason for all the itching in the back of his scrotum, he hadn't really taken the time to look, but it was just starting to grow. It was like the shape of a broom, a little bit, and it was a sponge growing out of his scrotum. And but he's like a poet and a Dada guy, and I wrote him later, and I said, you're not the only one. And he said, oh, I know. There in California, there are a lot of cases. He knows everybody, and that's all he said was a lot of cases. And he told me it cannot be removed, and so he's just using his. Um, what that means, I don't know if he was talking about dishes or what, but that was by then. I think by now we were into September, and a couple months went by. Maybe I wasn't communicating much, but it was like no new sponge growths on authors. And then in November, a writer named Josh Barkin, who I really don't think very very highly of as a human. I usually don't like to mention names, but if you see Josh Barkin, you got to feel bad for him. He told me, he wrote me that he had a sponge bigger than a bowling ball, and he could kind of scrunch it up and get pants on, but he had a giant one. And the same day, or maybe later that night, 5 other emails came in from writers I know with sponges on their scrotums. And by now, that was like an avalanche. And since then, it's been sort of spotty, once a month, once every 2 months. By now, at least 33 writers I know have sponges on their scrotums, and none has come up with a reason for this or whatever. The few I've discussed with, maybe about five of us are have a little group. I don't have one. Maybe I'm one of the lucky ones. Maybe the sponge is coming. But I have the slightest itch, and I'm down there with a mirror. But what I think what's most important is that, well, we have to try to find out what's happening, and that it's not happening. I guess what I meant to get at before with the group, we found that there is no other group we can find, artists, spelunkers, pilots. No other group that we can find has a higher than average, which is a very low. I mean, like 1 in 1 million. This is only writers. We're not the only people who sit all day, and it's mysterious. And all I'm saying, you get some itching down there, see a doctor right away, and let's try to get ahead of this thing.